Boom! Texas is on the board once again with the offensive line in the transfer portal. Wake Forest transfer Melvin Siani is the newest Texas Longhorn. We'll talk about him on this special live edition of On Texas Football. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Rod Babers and Jerry Hamilton. We'll be taking your questions, super chats as always. Jump to the front of the line. Jerry, I'll start. Actually, Jerry, before I get to you, I will say what we're hearing at this point, this is not going to impact Texas' pursuit of Jordan Seaton, the Colorado offensive tackle. They're still going after Jordan Seaton. They've also had a visitor on campus today. Jerry, Texas loading up on the offensive line in the transfer portal. Melvin Siani, the latest addition.
Yeah, a guy that's originally out of Canada, right? Signed with Temple out of high school. Rod can give you all his PFF rundown at Wake Forest. A kid that had a lot of physical development in front of him when he left high school. But as he's really built up his frame, has those athletic feet, got that basketball type of body quickness, a guy that Texas really likes the upside of. And now some of that upside is starting to really show. Went to the Hun School in Princeton his senior year, moved down from Canada and finished high school at the Hun School. So super smart kid as well, goes from Hun School to Temple to Wake Forest, now to Texas. So the academic piece is there as well. But a guy who's really he built out his frame in the last couple of years and now has, Rod, I'll let you give that update. But look, I mean, he's a guy that Texas is looking at tackle. So it'll be interesting to see how they make all the puzzle pieces actually work when the time comes. But Rod, he's played only left and right tackle.
Based on just this PFF. So obviously some of you guys like to criticize PFF, but they have him with one snap at right guard in 2025. But they did play right and left tackle. So you got over 1,000 snaps at left tackle in his career, both at Temple and Wake Forest, and over 500 snaps at right tackle. That is important considering now it looks like the Longhorns are just trying to get their best five out there. And obviously still, as Jeff pointed out, still recruiting Jordan Seaton, who's at the top of this offensive line market or tackle market. And it's interesting, they're going to bring in. I mean, it seems like they're going to move. We know they're going to move somebody inside, right? Somebody's bumping inside. There's been a lot of talk about Brandon Baker bumping inside, and I just wonder because maybe they're coming up with a new strategy here, guys. I don't know what it is. I'm just hypothesizing. I've not heard anything. This is not Rod B saying I'm confirming some report. I'm just, as a football theorist, thinking about the talent acquisition here. You got two bookend tackles you like, right? And then you bring in another tackle who can play right or left. So it seems like somebody may end up bumping inside, and they're recruiting, and Jordan Seaton's another tackle, right? So that'd be four. So what I'm thinking is there's a belief in football that if you have the athleticism to play tackle, all I need to make sure you have that you definitely could bump inside. I just need you to make sure you have the cerebral intellect.
Yeah.
Up inside. Because football basically, I don't know, just from what I can gather, football coaches believe that on the outside, on the perimeter of football, you need athleticism and you need freakish athletic skills, right? That's why corners, wide receivers, tackles are among the most athletic of your edge defenders, most athletic of the players you're bringing in. And they say as you get closer to the football, you need a cerebral intellectualism, if you will, right? That's why centers and quarterbacks, right? Middle linebacker, closer you are to the football, you need these guys to be real kind of smart in a sense. So maybe they're thinking, hey, we can recruit athleticism and then bump those guys inside, and that as long as we can recruit the right kind of players, the smart players, that they'll be able to bump inside and deal with the kind of close quarters physicality of being able to bump down to guard from tackle. It's kind of the only thing I can think of that Texas figuring out, you know what, we just going to bring in a lot of tackles and we're going to bump the guys inside who may not have as much athleticism and footwork, and we'll bump those guys inside. Like, other than that, that's all I got for you in terms of the talent acquisition strategy of bringing in so many tackles who maybe, you could bump some guys back and just say he's going to be our backup tackle. They're bringing in starting tackles, though. And these guys will probably be your best five offensive linemen. And I know that's a Kyle Flood strategy. Get the best five out there.
Yeah, I would say I want to add this too. Somebody asked about the Western Kentucky guard from Miami. It just went in the portal. Texas looks and watches all these guys. But we're not saying that Texas is going there. But just for somebody to ask, they watch all these guys. They study all these guys. The other thing I want to point out is yesterday was Jonte Newman, the A&M transfer committed to Texas. There's a chance maybe he's a backup tackle, but he may also get a look at guard as well. There because I just want to throw that one out there. But it'll be Melvin Siani is being recruited as a tackle, 100% being recruited as a tackle. Does that mean guys can't move around? No, but Brandon Baker, to your point, Rod, is who is going to move inside when all this is said and done. And so we'll see what happens here moving forward. But I just wanted to point that out. Jonte Newman, it'll be more of hey, take a look at this guy. Yeah, he's still a part of a developmental piece in the program. And is he actually a tackle or we fit better at guard at Texas? That one will be something they won't fully answer until they get their hands on him, start working with him. But guard is a possibility for Jonte Newman.
Yeah, Jerry, I kind of want to follow Rod's line of thinking here. It does seem like they are, I don't want to say they're sacrificing size for athleticism, but it does feel like with some of the guys they're taking, it does feel like maybe athleticism, a little more premium on athleticism up front than maybe there has been previously. I don't know if that's Kyle Flood looking, the Florida game is the one that stands out, Jerry, where quite frankly, there were times in that game where Texas, especially in the interior, just didn't athletically match up with Florida. I think Georgia's another one where it hasn't been a really good matchup for Texas. I just wonder if this is Kyle Flood. They've been on the big humans path for so long and said, hey, guys, if you're big enough at some point, let's just make sure we've got really good athletes that can handle themselves.
That's good, Jeff. I like that. Yeah. Getting away from the big humans thing, maybe a little pivot from big humans to athletic humans.
And as long as we're clear on this, we're still talking about 310. Okay, I just want to, but look, he went to the Petty School up in Pennsylvania, but really athletic guys. I mean, you can go back and you don't have to watch his college tape. You can go back and watch his high school tape, and you can see how athletic this guy is, how well he bends. The ankle flexion is high end for him. He just needs to build out his frame as a football player, but Melvin Siani is a high-end athlete from a foot quickness, initial body quickness standpoint, and has that really good ankle flexion. He's so athletic, getting out of his stance as a puller. He's a talented athlete, man, that's really built up his frame and had a really good year in the ACC. He wasn't a first, second, or third team All-ACC guy. It was his first year at Wake starting, but he's a guy that is showing the long-term athleticism, the development's catching up that athleticism.
Jared, there's two things here I think that are key to point out. One, you and I talked about it a lot with line play. It is really hard to find guys that can legitimately play tackle at the P4 level and do it at a high level. Yeah. And dare I say close to an elite level. And Siani's proven he can do that. I'll say this too, with Siani and Mason Barton, the Jackson State transfer who's visiting today, these are multi-year guys. So we talked about, hey, you're all in on 2026, but maybe there's a deal where you're telling these guys, hey, yeah, we'll bring you in for this year. We'll let it, but you're going to be one of our cornerstone pieces for 2027. That way, maybe you don't have to just go out and rebuild the entire offensive line through the portal.
Yeah, because Texas, it doesn't mean something's going to get done absolutely. But Texas still wants Mason Barton as that to what you're talking about, Jeff Howe. I'll tell you the other thing with this is this could pave the way. Jordan Coleman at times is a backup tackle. I think Jordan Coleman at his best is an interior guy that really moves people in the run game with a lot of size. This could free up that move for Jordan Coleman to move into guard as well as he continues to develop because he's a mover of people. He's a 650-pound squatter, and I think he played tackle this year or worked at tackle this year out of necessity as much as anything else.
Okay. All right, let's get some of the super chats. Rod, grab the helmet. Jerry, grab the lampshade because we got one from Jason Hablinski. Jason, thank you so much as always for the super chat. Says, sorry for doubting. Really want to guard though too. Jason, I think it's interesting, Rod. I'm just kind of spitballing that idea of I don't want to say it's moving on from big humans because again, as Jerry said, you are still talking about guys that are 300 plus pounds, but maybe, like I said, maybe athleticism is just taking a little more of a premium for Kyle Flood and Sark at this point.
I do feel like it's a shift. It kind of reminds me of, when they move the corners to safety, right? You see that a lot too. You also see tackle moving the guard. If a guy, if they bring him in and he doesn't necessarily have the footwork or, the athleticism to be able to work in space against some of those elite edge defenders and say, hey, you know what? We know he's got athleticism. Let's move him in the guard. And then if you move him down the guard, the only, I guess, complications or the concerns would be, can they, when the action happens quicker, can they actually be able to execute in those close quarter contact areas? All right, that's number one. And do they have a physical mentality? Because the closer you get down there, it's less you're on an island like the tackles are, or like the corners are with wide receivers and tackles, edge defenders. You're less on that island, and you're more about close quarters contact. Can you be a road grader? Can you move other human beings against their will? Sorry to break out a Tom Herman quote for you, but do that. And if you have a guy like that has that kind of mentality, you got to get close to a Casey Studdard kind of mentality as you move inside. You see, you got a Tony Hills. Tony Hills a tackle outside. You ever talk to Casey Studdard and Tony Hills? You know what I mean? They got the same kind of O-line mentality, but very different in the way they approach and execute. And do you have a tackle that is down to get that physical and has that nasty mentality? That would be my only concern. Cerebrally, in terms of cerebral man, I think they'll, that's his coaches teaching them the game. But can they be a road grader? Can they go out there and play bully ball? Do you have those kind of guys you're moving inside? Because that's the mentality you're going to need.
Hey, Jeff, let's reset this real quick. So Melvin Siani out of Wake Forest commits to Texas out of the portal. He is being recruited as a tackle, not a guard. We want to make sure that is pointed out. Jonte Newman, who committed yesterday, will get some looks at tackle. He's still a more developmental player. Looks at tackle, could potentially end up at guard depending on what Texas sees once they get him on the practice field and start working with him. Mason Barton, the offensive tackle from Jackson State, Texas still wants him. Not saying they're going to get it done. You still got to get these things to the finish line, but they like his upside and long-term development potential with Mason Barton, the Jackson State offensive tackle transfer that is in the portal.
Jerry got a super chat that's just for you from Silver Spurs Sicko. Loins equals girded.
Yeah. January 15th, still time left. We'll see who jumps into the portal in the next 36 hours.
Exactly. Just a dude, 4579. Thank you for the super chat. Would like to see more discipline on the line. I think we all would like, Rod. There are going to be some penalties, call them live ball penalties, the pass interference, stuff like that, hey, if a guy's competing, I'm not saying you're okay with it, but you understand it. The pre-snap stuff, especially, everybody knows your offensive linemen are your smartest guys on your team. When those guys are committing pre-snap penalties, that's the kind of stuff that drives coaches nuts.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and just to give you Siani's background on penalties, he has 7 penalties in 2025. 5 in 2024, only 1 in 2023. So that'd be something to look out for as well. You can't have, that's one of the things that I think Sark has got to focus on this offseason is being able to reverse the trend, because Texas has become more and more penalized team every year Sark has been here. That means they're a more undisciplined team the longer Sark has been here. He's got to reverse that trend. We know that's something uncharacteristic of the Sark regime since we've been here. They're a good culture team, good culture program. That's a bad trait of a good culture.
Jerry, you have astutely pointed it out throughout this whole offseason so far. We can talk about portal additions all we want. If you're in the 130s and penalties again next year, probably not going to hit your ceiling as a team.
No chance you will. So, I mean, that is the whole key for me more than any of these player acquisitions is how much more disciplined of a team on Saturdays do you become? That is really what is going to define this season coming up for Texas, because it's not about talent. To me, it wasn't about talent last year either. Texas did not play disciplined enough football to go maximize a roster and team they had. That has got to change next season, first and foremost. That is the number one thing for me that has to change. They are acquiring really good talent. They're acquiring really good football players. Of course, all this stuff has to mesh together, but they're doing their part on putting the roster together. Now those guys, Rod, they got to get these guys. The most difficult challenge for coaches, I think nowadays in the portal areas, is getting those guys to be cohesive, and you got to do it early. It's not quick. It's week 2.
Yep.
And then you have to be a very disciplined football team throughout the season on the schedule Texas is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I will set up the super, then I'm going to dip out, and Jerry and Rod will take you guys home for the rest of this live. Termy Rocks, thank you for the super chat, said, is it true that Seton is on campus today? I saw some smoke around that. Perhaps one of the secret visitors. Bobby mentioned this morning, more Mayo corn dogs are waiting for you, Jerry. Thanks, OTF. Hook them in. Everybody, Jerry and Rod again will take you home again. The big news, if you're just joining us, Melvin Siani from Wake Forest commits to Texas. Mason Barton, the Jackson State offensive tackle, is on campus. Jerry, Rod, take it away, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you.
Yep. Well, Jordan Seaton's been in Houston working out since yesterday. What does that mean? We'll see. I've said this before when Jordan Seaton went in the portal. Number one, he has to be okay with not being a starting left tackle somewhere, or potentially not being Rod for anything with Texas to have a chance to come to fruition. And now that he's officially in the portal, some of those discussions will have happened, will be happening. But he is in the state of Texas right now. So we will see what happens moving forward with that. But look, I mean, that's a situation where teams are going to be coming at him, Miami's of the world, and saying, you're our starting left tackle. No doubt about it. You're only playing left. They know where Texas was sitting.
Yep.
So that's their pitch going to Jordan Seaton. And it's a top 10 pick that is at left tackle, a future top 10 pick, saying, I'm good moving the right. Doesn't happen a lot.
Exactly.
Because NFL level, Rod.
No, you're right, Jared, because everybody else, listen, the money, all these teams programs that are in it, they're going to have the money. Like you ain't going to even be in the recruitment if you ain't got the bread. So they're going to have the money. And you're right, Jared, ultimately, I think when the teams negatively recruit against Texas, because Texas got the first visit, so they'll be looking to negatively recruit against them. It will be, hey, you know what? Why can't you should be able to get all the things you want out of this recruitment. And that's the money, number one, competing for championships, everything on his list. I'm sure competing for championships, development, and playing left tackle is probably on that list too. And teams will be saying, hey, you know what? Texas can't guarantee that. We can guarantee that. We'll guarantee it right now on the spot that you'll play left tackle. Texas pitch will probably be like, hey, come be a part of what we are assembling here, which is a national championship contender. We got Arch Manning, one of the best young quarterbacks, and we want to have the best group of talent, or basically the best collection of talent on offense in the country, which I think they're pretty close to it right now, except they don't have the O-line talent, which he can bring in.
Yeah.
So like I said, the sales pitch will be different. I don't know what these young guys consider. Some of them, it's all about the money. For others, it's not all about the money. The money's a part of it, but there are a lot of factors you got to include there. And I'm sure Jordan sees the same way. So I'm glad Texas still going big game hunting.
Yes.
And see how this thing works out. All right. Jeff with a super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Says all the people begging for Lawrence Seymour's just cause he is a guard. Don't watch film. Slow first step. Also, Sark still all in on Seaton, who is 6'6", 330 pounds with amazing feet athletes. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, it seems to be right now Sark is putting a premium on the top guys that he's bringing in out of the portal. There's no doubt this is a big game hunting philosophy for Sark.
Yeah.
And the way they're rebuilding this O-line, Jerry, it does seem to indicate either a shift in strategy or – you know what? We're just going to bring in the best athletes on the O-line we can get out of the portal, and then we'll figure it out once we got them assembled. We'll figure it out after that.
Yeah. I think that's 100% true. There's so many questions going in the chat right now. And look, we just want to say Texas is still in contact with Jordan Seaton's people. That's just what we want people to know. But yeah, Rod, I mean, look, you watch Siani. And like I said, you watch him in high school. I mean, he's got tremendous ankle flexion, really good knee bend, really good flexibility in his hips. You see the athleticism. without ever having a conversation with the kid, probably grew up playing some hoops. He has one. He looks like that type of kid. And his frame's filled out. He moves the way he moves and how agile and flexible he is. A lot of times those kids do have that hoops background at some point in their existence. He moved in from Canada, played at Petty School in Pennsylvania. I said Hun School. That was a mind mess up on my end. But he went to school in Pennsylvania, and a guy that had the athleticism, built out the frame. But for those that haven't seen him, you can go watch his high school huddle at Petty, and you can see the athleticism he played with.
Yeah, I feel like since Sark has been here, we have seen, by the way, this is a compliment to him and Brandon Harris. We have seen them not necessarily pivot, but we have seen them maybe change direction in terms of recruiting strategy in a few positions, looking for different types of athletes. I think we've seen it at receiver. I think the receivers are bigger than they used to be when Sark first got here. They all look bigger, longer receivers. DB is like that too. The DB position looks very different in the type of athletes he was recruiting when he first got here. And quarterback, Trey Owens is your last kind of pocket passing traditional quarterback. Now you got all these guys, Jerry, that have second reaction ability, off script ability. So KJ Lacey and Dia Bell. And Arch Manning's in that category too. So I think Sark understood where the game is going. And I wonder if we're watching another one on the offensive line. I wonder if we're looking at them going, you know what? Yeah, big humans, but right now we need a certain level of athleticism on the O-line, period. At all positions across the board, base level of athleticism. And we're willing to take athletes from that tackle position, bump them down in the guard where we think they might end up anyway in the league and maybe make them some money or show their versatility. I don't know what the transfer is going to be, and then make some money that way. So I think we're witnessing something.
I agree.
I can't wait to ask Sark. I can't wait for you guys to ask Sark about it. But I think it's really something that we should pay attention to.
And Rod, your point on quarterback is such a good one because there's been a clear change under Steve Sarkisian. Quarterback recruiting. Because look, Malik Murphy, people say, well, he's the dual threat. No, he wasn't. He was a 3-5 step pocket passer. He was not going to run for a first down or many yards. He was a pure pocket quarterback. Trey Owens, pure pocket quarterback with functional athleticism. But you've seen Texas go in a different direction in quarterback recruiting with KJ Lacey and Dia Bell. That's why it's going to be interesting to meet because there's not a new offer at quarterback recruiting in 27. They have junior day coming up Saturday. CJ, myself, everybody will be there. But let's see what if they make a new offer to a quarterback after getting out and seeing some guys in January. And I think that may further what we're talking about here at the quarterback position. Because if you look at some of the guys they had soft offered early but didn't take a commitment from or go full bear on, I mean, you're talking Kavian Bryant's a heck of an athlete at quarterback. Peyton is not just a pocket passer at all. And you look at some of those guys they had soft offered, or not fully gone in on so far in the 27 class, and that's exactly where they're headed. So that's why people are asking about Gunnar Rivers. That's going to be interesting to see if they have legit interest in Texas, what Sark will do, because he is more of a pocket passer with functional athleticism.
That's good.
Really good player.
That's interesting because Trey, what class did Trey Owens come in with?
He was after Arch, so it was going to be that was going to be 24.
Yes, so they were trying to find because nobody wanted to come in after Arch.
That's right. No doubt.
So they need to. So I think they were probably shifting in that direction anyway, but they needed someone who would be willing to come in after Arch. And I give Trey Owens a lot of credit because he's got that competitive sickness. So he didn't care. He's like, no, I'll go in there and try to prove myself. And I think now he ends up in a really good spot. But I think they've changed their tune a little bit about. Remember, Sark wasn't big on off-schedule plays when he first got here.
Yes,
he was not a fan of it. Even though VY beat them on an off-schedule play, he was not a fan of it. And I think now he's understood where the game is going, that the off-schedule play may be the best cheat code in football. Yeah. And it help as a play caller, you have to give up some of your power and ego and admit, yeah, you know what? The best play Texas ran this year might have been Arch scrambling, and it wasn't me calling the play. It's just him.
I think what Sark is looking for at quarterback around that athleticism, you can't be a guy that just exits the pocket. You have to be able to play within the pocket and then make your athletic plays. outside of that. But he's not recruiting somebody that first sign of anything in their peripheral, they exit the pocket.
No, you're right.
Not recruiting that.
Agreed.
He does not want just completely plays broken down all the time. But to your point, guys who can operate in the pocket and go be an athlete and make a lot of plays outside the pocket, that is what and in some few design QB runs, that's exactly what Sark is looking for. Hey, Rod, I'm going to answer this one real quick because I want to give people an update. Because I mentioned this on Coffee and Football this year. Roman Maroney, 2785. Jerry, when is Scott Surratt coming on the show? We recorded that show, myself, Carl Padilla, Coach Buchanan, retired 9-time state champion Alito, I believe it was. We recorded that show today. We had Scott Surratt on from Carthage, Surratt on, Willie Gaston from North Shore. We had Coach Sterling Doty from Stephenville and Coach Ryan Marwitz from Hamilton, who just won his first state title. So we had interviews with all those guys over about an hour show. That'll be our final high school fieldhouse show this year, which will post here in the near future. But we had all those guys on, and they're all awesome.
Nice. Good stuff, Jared. All right, let's get through these super chats. I apologize about the delay. Here we go. How about this from Randy Bevo? Love the moves. Don't mind the patience needed for this class. However, how much of this is a game that Sark and the coaches have to play? Keep current players in place and not show your cards to rivals.
I don't think that factors in at all. Texas went right after the right tackle and right guard at Michigan when the portal opened. If those guys had gone Texas' way, you wouldn't be seeing any of this movement for guys jumping in the portal late as starters, as potential starters. If Sprague and Guarena had gone to Texas and not stuck with Michigan, it's a starting guard and tackle, starting tackle. So it's all based on how this first 60-meter weekend in the sprint in the portal went. What were those returns like for Texas? And then I've said this for this whole cycle, and we're all learning through this. I think the coaching staffs around the country are learning from this. The ability to quickly pivot, Rod,
Plan B,
is the key in portal acquisition. You have 2 weeks. You only have 11 days for visits, as it turns out. 11 days in the first 2 weeks. I mean, you can go into the portal on the 15th or 16th. As long as you're in by 11:59 on the 16th East Coast time, you can visit anytime after. But you don't want to leave as much to chance either after this this only portal window is open and then closed. So it's the ability to pivot quickly. And what I think these schools are learning is we got to have plan A. Our plan B's got to be really good, and our plan C can't be far behind our plan B.
Yeah.
They all have to be solid, and we have to pivot quickly. And if you pivot quickly, you can still fill your needs and get really good players if you're at the major schools like Texas.
Yep, they did that running back. Remember Isaac Brown, Jaden Baugh, neither one of them worked out for him. Didn't even hit the portal and end up getting Raleigh Brown and Hollywood Smothers. So good stuff there, Jerry. J Mo 25 says, Jerry, have you heard a rumored asking price for Jordan Seaton? $3 million plus? What is Gooseby NIL package? It wouldn't make sense to pay Seaton more. I don't know about that.
I mean, look, all the numbers are conjecture until these recruitments are signings are finalized, and you hear, because the agent wants the numbers put out there to be as high as possible. Yeah, a lot of times the agents drop the number, but is the number actually real? A lot of times it hasn't been. Well, unless you're Dante Moore, but or Sam Levitt, but our quarterback. For the most part, some of these numbers are inflated, and once they're signed and the real numbers can really start to come out, that is what counts to me. Look, Gooseby's NIL package. He's well compensated at Texas. I'll say that he's well compensated, as he should be. He's a first-team All SEC left tackle. There's only one of those guys. So every year, there's only one every year. So he is well compensated.
Yeah, to keep him out of the NFL draft, you had to.
Yes.
You had to pay him a lot of money. Because he was being projected as at least going in the top 2 rounds, which is, guys, I ain't got to give you the numbers, but that's multiple millions of dollars guaranteed for you. So I'm with you on that, Jerry. I think you're going to end up, if you get Jordan Seaton, for the first time in history, I don't know if there's no way it's ever happened. You're going to have like 4 players making $1 million plus on that offense potentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
NIL rev share, offensive tackle football. Well, yeah. Like I said, it seems like they're shifting the strategy here a little bit. How about
here's the thing to remember, Rod. Brandon Baker had a pretty good year at right tackle.
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
For a first-year starter. So I mean, he's going to be a really good player, in my opinion. Really good. He'll have a future in the NFL. So just the ability to make that move. I'm not sure how many guards in the portal you could find that'll end up being better players than Brandon Baker. Maybe a few, but how many can you really find that will be better than him that already has some continuity in your program?
And I feel like that's what Texas is doing. I feel like they're ranking all the best players in the portal and saying, man, more of them are tackles and on our list. So you know what? Let's just take them. We'll take the better player, not the better, obviously at the position, better player, and then we'll roll with that. It seems like that anyway. Thank you for that super chat. How about this one from Clifton? Says, any worry of Baker hitting the portal? Well, he's got ticking clock here, right? If you
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been. This is something that has been talked about with Brandon Baker. Now, does that mean something couldn't happen? We can't sit here and for sure say that because look, Melvin Siani had signed to return to Wake Forest.
Wow, so, man,
they thought they were getting him back, and that is the way of the portal. But from my understanding, there's been discussions with Brandon Baker. Brandon Baker really likes that Texas.
And I imagine they have had to have the discussion about moving him when you know, I mean, that'd be
if they haven't, no.
Not you wouldn't just blindside, no pun intended, a player with that. You had to have brought it up into conversation at one point. Yes. I would think. Bandit here with a super chat says, will Sark have a press conference after the portal?
He's probably going to have to. Y'all are demanding it. Y'all are going to go up to Newhouse and pull him out of his office and give him the mic and say, all right, let's hear about it.
I would say, you would feel like you just have so many new faces between the staff and the players that you just want to clear the air on.
Look, Blake Gideon. There's some people to talk about who's going to replace Kenodo Hudson.
Jaluk.
Jabbar Jaluk. I mean, yes, there's too much to talk about.
It's way too much. And it's got to be a long one, too. We can't be no 20 minutes. We're going to need 45 minutes here, Sark, to get through everything.
Lunch and dinner, long press conference.
Yeah, exactly. Rob Davis helmet here. Shout out. Real quick here. Thank you, Rob Davis helmet. Says, Rod said we needed more girth up the middle. Don't ask me. I'm just his helmet. Guess we got it. Yeah, I said that. I was talking about the interior O-line and having some road graders, right? Guys who have a physical mindset about them. But yeah, I feel like athleticism is kind of trumping the physicality right now in terms of rebuilding your line. We should say, thank you, Rod Davis helmet. I did say that, and I caught myself. I think as soon as I said it, that more girth up the middle would probably be something that Matthew would pull out and try to use as some type of meme or gift later. All right, getting back to it. Rocky Poor, thank you for the super chat. Says, Sark, it's like Thanos collecting tackles. Right? I mean, there's got to be a strategy. If they get Seton, then we confirm that this is definitely part of a new formula or strategy in how they're recruiting and acquiring O linemen. Like there's no day you bring in multiple tackles when you need to rebuild the O line and then move guys around. To me, that would be intentional and premeditated.
Yeah.
So except we'll ask Sark about it at the press conference.
Yeah. No doubt. Hey, Rob, we got a ton of people come on the show. Let's reset for them one more time.
Do it.
I'll look at none other than Huey. Good to see you back. So Melvin Siani out of Wake Forest commits to Texas. Wake Forest thought they were going to keep him. He goes in the portal. He is committed to Texas. He is being taken as a tackle. I mean, Rod can give you the breakdown at left and right tackle from PFF at Wake Forest this year, but he is being recruited as a tackle, not a guard. I think that means, obviously, we've been talking about this. Brandon Baker kicks into a guard, much more than likely. Jonte Newman, who Texas took out of the portal yesterday, will get some looks at tackle, could get some looks at guard. I think that's to be determined. He's still a year away development-wise. Obviously, Dylan Sikorsky had committed and signed last week, if my days are running together, maybe 7 days ago. with Texas. People in the chat have asked Rod about backup Senator Connor Robertson. That is TBD. Obviously, Jackson Christian has worked some there. Devin Coleman has worked some there. The freshman Nicholas Robertson, I believe, will get a lot of work at center, but he's a freshman, won't factor into the 26th season, and he is not an early enrollee either. So that's kind of where we're at. Texas still having conversations with Jordan Seaton as of when we went on the air. Here, we can tell you that. And I'd also say this, see who else goes in the portal, see who else goes in the portal after the national championship game. Those kids are going to have decisions to make as well. Some kids at those schools where they go pro, what could happen there. So everything is still on the table as of 3 p.m. today.
Whew. Isn't this fun, guys? All right, last super chat here from Denver Sports Central says, would Siani sit for a year with Jerry saying he's a tackle only? Y'all do know that basically that's college football's version of dead money is when you pay guys out of the portal to come or pay guys, period, and they don't play.
Yeah.
I don't know with the plan. Now, they may end up happening, but that can't be the plan, I would think, via the portal. All right. Thank you for that one. How about this from Joey? Last one says, Joey Garcia says, I listened to the girth in the middle part on speaker in public. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that, Joey. I apologize. I really should have said interior O-line. I got to be more specific about that. All right. Thank you guys for all of the super chats and the questions. And thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. Thanks to Jeff, who started us off. Thanks to Matthew behind the scenes, Swiss and Swing Dallas. He's a real MVP. Don't worry, guys. We're coming right back. Not right back, but around 7:15, we'll have the Winning Drive, the prime time edition. So I'll be back on. I think Jeff's coming back on with me as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we'll talk a lot about the transfer portal and the latest acquisition for the Longhorns, Melvin Siani, the offensive tackle out of Wake Forest. Thank you, Jerry, for everything you do, brother. Great stuff as always. And for Jerry and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Beavers. Until next time, hook 'em horns. Girth.